So today I would like to talk to you about a quality that is often overlooked when hiring admin team members, and that is the quality of hunger. Traditionally, we've tended to hire admin team members who are warm and kind and organised, but not necessarily hungry. In his book, The Ideal Team Player, Patrick Lencioni speaks about the three virtues of an ideal team player, being hungry, humble, and smart. Ideal team players are humble. They're coachable, they give and receive feedback graciously, and they share credit for their success. They're also people smart, so they have a high emotional intelligence and they relate really well to people. Today I'd like to focus on the third quality of hunger. Ideal team players are hungry. They're hungry to achieve, they're hungry to learn, and they're hungry to smash their personal and collective goals. I'd like to introduce you to Maddie, who is an ideal team player on my team. Maddie is a hustler. She's a receptionist, a client experience officer on my team at Boost. She's also a law student and a netball coach, and she's only 19 years old. To demonstrate the impact that Maddie, our hungry receptionist, has on the performance of the clinic, I'd like to share with you some of the things that she gets done in a day's work. And I'd also like to quantify that as a dollar amount to reflect her impact on the business. So to keep the maths simple, let's assume that the average spend at the clinic is $100, PVA is 10, and that means that the value of a new patient is $1,000. We'll roll with simplicity here. So, a day in the life of Maddie. At 8:40, Maddie gets a phone call. Somebody needs to cancel their appointment for later this evening. Maddie nails the script. She manages to keep that person on track with their treatment plan, and she saves the appointment $100. At 9:05, Maddie noticed that there was a strange gap in the diary. So she texted a patient and asked the patient if they could come in 15 minutes earlier, and that resulted in us freeing up another billable appointment time, $100. At 9:15, Maddie gets a phone call, and it's somebody inquiring about how much it is to see a podiatrist. Maddie takes time to learn more about the patient. She builds trust and rapport, shows empathy, and it results in a booking for later that evening. We've now acquired a new patient, $1,000. At 9:50, another phone call. Somebody's trying to book in for a practitioner who is very fully booked for the next 2 weeks. Maddie assures them that they'll be in great hands with somebody else, and they book an appointment, $100. At 10:10, Maddie realises that it's the birthday of one of our beloved GPs and sends them flowers. I have no doubt that awareness and having us top of mind results in a booking for a new patient, $1,000. At 10:35, Maddie has the job of rescheduling some patients for a practitioner who's transitioned out of the team. So she has to call 6 patients and again assure them that they are in good hands with someone else. Let's assume that they are halfway through their treatment plan already. So $500 each, $3,000 impact. At 11:05, at the point of payment, Maddie asks somebody for a word of mouth referral. The patient loves their experience at Boost and immediately thinks of somebody at her tennis club that has a similar elbow complaint and assures Maddie that, yes, I will definitely pass on this flyer to my friend at the tennis club, resulting in, most likely, another new patient, $1,000. At 11:20, Maddie notices that there's a practitioner on the team with a bit of white time today, and she proactively marches into their room and hands them the handheld phone to remind them that they've got some point of care calls to do today. Everyone needs a Maddie for this job. So let's assume that the practitioner does a whole lot of care calls, books one patient in for later that week, $100. At 11:40, Maddie reaches out to one of our sponsor clubs, the Netball Club, to tee up a time for some of our podiatrists to present at the club. I back our podiatrists to do a great job. They're going to get at least one new patient from that opportunity, $1,000. At 12:05, Maddie finds an opportunity to book someone in from the priority list. This is somebody who already has an appointment next Thursday, but Maddie knows that that's actually that guy's golf day and he would definitely prefer to come in on Tuesday instead of Thursday, makes the call. The guy is thrilled, how very thoughtful, and that way Maddie has freed up a time later in the week which is more likely to fill. At 12:30, it's Maddie's lunch break. She really deserves a break. So she walks up to the cafe for lunch, but with her, she takes some flyers because she knows that there's a notice board at the cafe and she's going to pin some flyers to the notice board. That's likely to result in another booking, $1,000. At 1:35, again, at the point of payment, somebody's really happy with the results that they've got, so Maddie knows this is a good opportunity to ask for a Google review. I'm not quite sure how to quantify that, so we'll leave that. 1:50, Maddie phones 4 patients who have fallen out of their treatment plan to check in. Let's assume she rebooked 2 of them, $200. At 2:10, Maddie block books a patient. The physio hands over a patient at the desk to rebook the next appointment, but Maddie knows this patient's treatment plan. She knows that they're going to need 4 appointments in the next little while, so she recommends that they're booked, $400. 2:40, Maddie sells a pair of Archies because somebody's asking questions, so she's happy to fit them up in the welcome room, $40. At 2:55, Maddie rebooks a patient who's hesitant to rebook because they've forgotten their diary, they're not sure. Maddie assures them that, hey, I'd really love to get you your ideal appointment time, let's get it in the diary. At 3:05, Maddie makes a welcome call to a new patient and offers to get that new patient in a week earlier. Frees up a time to book another appointment later in the diary. At 3:20, Maddie's helping a patient with payment for their orthotics, and she recommends that they book in another appointment as the financial year rolls over because she knows that their private health refreshes in July. So they book in a scanning appointment for an additional pair of orthotics, optimise the private health. At 3:40, Maddie reschedules a patient who's unwell. They've called to cancel, and Maddie suggests that let's get something in the diary for next week rather than cancel. At 4:05, we have a delivery of our orthotics, and Maddie's able to phone a patient to say, hey, we've got your orthotics in ahead of schedule. We can see you this evening instead of next week if this helps. Again, freeing up a time in the diary in advance. At 4:30, Maddie replies instantly to a drift message and books in an inquiry for a new patient, $1,000. At 4:45, Maddie reaches out to somebody who has an EPC plan with us but has no upcoming appointment, $100. At 4:45, we receive a fax. It's a new referral. So Maddie takes the initiative to phone that patient immediately and offers them an initial appointment. The patient's astounded because they're still in their car on the way home from the GP practice. And we've already reached out to welcome them and to offer to help. At 5 o'clock, Maddie writes an awesome handover for the next person coming in and shares some opportunities with them for their shift. Priceless. All right, total impact for Maddie. $11,240 worth of impact. Thank you, Maddie. And that definitely deserves a Shane Davis meme. Interestingly though, in a traditional position description for a receptionist, Maddie may have done none of these actions. She may have answered the phone pleasantly and taken payments really efficiently, but these were the actions of somebody who is naturally hungry. So, how do we make this happen? We create alignment between the goals of the business and our team members. We highlight to our admin team the link between their actions and clinical outcomes. This talk today has largely focused on the impact of a hungry receptionist on the financial outcomes of the clinic. I could have equally spoken to you about the clinical impacts of Maddie's behaviour. every one of the actions that Maddie took in her day was supported by a slick system and a script, and really intentional, abundant training for each of those systems, including the uncomfortable role play. But only a fraction of those conversion opportunities would have happened if Maddie wasn't hungry. So we need to hire people who naturally display that quality. And of course, we have the benefit of this community, of our Clinic Mastery coaches, and you guys, to support each other with these initiatives, as well as the expertise of Beck and Sammy through the Practice Leaders program. So I implore you that next time you are hiring for an admin team member, that you focus on the quality of hunger as well as humble and smart. Thank you.
This is for Bridget. She sounds amazing. You mentioned she's studying law. So have you thought about what's going to happen when she graduates, and how do you want to keep her, and is that your intention? And if so, how are you going to try and convince her to stay when she's that amazing, yet she's got this career pathway, vision, goal?
Yeah, great question. I think I need to face the reality that Maddie will graduate in 4.5 years. But what I anticipate is that Maddie's going to leave a legacy behind. So Maddie's even at 19, she's one of our newest team members, yet she's still very involved in training the other team. So as part of her legacy, we'll empower Maddie to create systems and scripts so that her impact extends beyond her, and the other team members level up to her standard, which they do. So I can't keep her, but I can keep her legacy and her impact through systems and scripts and training.
My question's from you. We all want a Maddie. What are you looking for in a job interview or in resumes, etc., to find your Maddie, find that real hunger component?
Good question. And I think hunger is probably the hardest thing to ascertain through the recruitment process. We can ask questions to expose a lack of humility. We can gauge pretty quickly if somebody has that emotional intelligence and the people smarts. Hunger, we have to dig a little bit deeper. So if I'm looking at a resume, I'm looking for the extracurricular stuff. That's where I go straight away. I want to know, have they been a school leader? Have they been involved in different clubs? And Maddie was, at 18, the secretary of the netball club. That shows me she's got some hunger, she's got some hustle and some big goals, and she wants to smash them. So sporting achievements. In terms of questions, I want to know what they achieved as a teenager, because that's going to show me to the core of, how naturally hungry they are if they were invested in lots of different things as a teenager. Also getting them into the clinic for a shadow shift or to experience life at the clinic beforehand. We can see, little things. If we leave them alone, are they just sitting there, or are they going to find an opportunity to tidy up the desk or fold some towels? That's that hunger and that initiative that we're looking for. So it's tricky, but we need to be really intentional about creating opportunities to see that hunger. And that goes for practitioners as well, right?
That's really good. If you miss that, in an interview with an admin team member, leave them alone for 5 minutes. Yeah, we might not have the two-way mirror opportunity, but that 5-minute investment of time, imagine the insight you get into the hunger of an admin team member and the time that's going to save you. It's probably the best 5 minutes you could invest in that interview, right? How do you implement and manage scripts and procedures for your admin team? Is it Google Drive, or how do you manage scripts and procedures?
So when we first started putting scripts and procedures and systems in place, it was largely my role. I quickly realised that that's not really sustainable with everything else that was on my plate as a business owner. So it became a process of empowering everybody on the admin team to be able to have this skill. And we've got to the stage where there's so many systems and scripts that I can't say we've clocked it, but when new initiatives come in, somebody on the admin team will say, oh, we haven't got a system or script for that, I'll write it. So I think there's real power in training the team on how to do that. We don't want to be the roadblock to making systems happen. We store them on our hub. You guys, most of you would have a Google site, I'd imagine. That's the perfect place to store your systems and scripts so that they're very easily attainable. And again, sometimes we can be a roadblock there. We can say to our team You know, if you want to write a script, do it on Google Drive, send it to me, I'll look over it and I'll put it on the hub. That may sit in a pile or an unopened email or an unread Slack for a few months. So I think we need to take ourselves out of that and just trust that our team can write these. They can put them on the hub and then just flick us a message to say, hey, I've just written this policy, can you have a read through, let me know what you think. So main advice is don't be a roadblock, let's get the whole team involved.
How do you remunerate your admin team while still staying viable?
Tricky one. And I can't say that I've completely clocked this. Something that we talk about a lot as CM coaches is how do we do this sustainably? Because it is different. They're not revenue generating in the sense that a practitioner would be. So it's not clear cut. What I would encourage you to do is to think about how we are measuring the success of our admin team members, put some KPIs in place, or we like to call them SEIs, Service Excellence Indicators, and start tracking the impact. Then from there, we can devise a system where we can introduce rewards or rewards model based on whether those service excellence indicators are being met. I've seen lots of different ways of doing that with a fixed, a fixed reward if KPIs are met. Sometimes it is based on the profit of the clinic, and that's, you know, giving a percentage of the profit of the clinic for achieving certain benchmarks or KPIs, SEIs. So many ways to be right there. We just need to make sure it's sustainable.
A bit, how do you protect a person like Maddie from burning out?
This is actually something that we are really conscious of because she is somebody who just goes. She wants to help with everything. So the way that we do that is through support. My wonderful practice manager, Sarah, is here and she's very in tune with her team, our CEO team, including Maddie. And Sarah does that by checking in regularly, having the one-to-ones, and that is something that I'm sure, Sarah, you talked to Maddie about in managing her own energy levels and her own expectations of herself. So sometimes these, you know, people who are naturally really hungry have really high expectations of themselves. So as leaders, like Mick said earlier, we need to know how our team tick. We need to know their love language and their personality types and their tendencies, and then mentor them and support them accordingly. So definitely for Mads, that's something that we check in about. We also talk to her about the types of things that she should be doing where she can have the greatest impact. So potentially could we take away some of the other tasks off her list that are better suited to somebody else who's less of a hustler? I want her to be doing the things that she's really good at. So it's managing her workflow and priorities. The way to do it is time and conversation with her.
So you mentioned hiring hungry team members, but what if you're unable to hire a hungry team member, or you can see they've got potential but they're not there yet? Do you have any tips to get them there?
Yeah, and I think this is probably a reality for lots of us in the room, that we have got amazing people on our team with the kindest hearts and super helpful and really good at their job, but just lacking a little bit of that hunger. So I think there is plenty we can do. Part of that is setting our expectations, and that might, again, be around systems and scripts. Can we systemize this so that there's an expectation that a lot of these things get done? Because we're a hungry team, and so we're going to adopt that as part of our values and our culture at the clinic, that we don't want patients falling through the cracks. So regardless of somebody's personality type, if the expectations are there and the systems and the training is there to support them, they can definitely develop that hungry behaviour, and we can hold them accountable to those hungry habits. So certainly don't rule out anyone on your team. Don't let anyone go after this conversation, but let's just be mindful of our expectations and systems of our team.